Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. My guests this evening are Brett Elliott, who's the executive director of the Katherine Hepburn Theater in Old Saybrook. Brett, welcome. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good to see you again. And one of my other favorite people in the town of Old Saybrook, the Honorable First Selectman, Carl Fortuna.
Thank you, Pete.
Hi, Carl. How are you, my friend?
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming down. Carl, like I said, you and I usually do this, but you actually brought a new friend with us.
I like to bring people in and share other aspects of the town. Before we dive into the segment, Pete,
sure.
One of the things I want to say to you is thank you, because
you're welcome.
I know you had Heather McNeil on from Youth and Family Services recently.
Yes.
We watched that in Town Hall, and you have me on as a guest very generously, and I appreciate that.
No problem.
And of course, bringing Brett in to highlight the Katherine Hepburn Cultural Arts Center is a big deal for us because it's such an important building on our street for what it does on our main street. So we've had Susie Beckman in here, I've had Leanne Palladino in here, so for you to allow the town to show the public what we do and how we're trying to make the town a better town, I appreciate it.
No problem, Carl. Thank you. So, Brett, tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been with the Katherine Hepburn.
Sure. So I have been at the Kate almost 5 years. I came in 2014 after Chuck Still, the founding executive director, headed off to Houston, and it's been growing and doing good things ever since.
Very nice, very nice. And from what I understand, you guys recently just finished up a gala. How'd that go?
We did. So we had our Cheers to 10 Years gala. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary, and it went very well. Of course, for the Kate, it's a big fundraiser because we're a cultural nonprofit, and did some good things for us. We also honored Christine Baranski with the 4th annual Spirit of Katherine Hepburn Award. So she was with us and had some wonderful remarks about the center and Katherine Hepburn, and it was really, really wonderful. Ruby Vella and the Soul Phonics were the band that joined us, and it was an event.
How were they?
They were great. They were great. Trying to get folks on the dance floor. It got a little bit late, but it was good.
So can I jump in on
Of course you can.
On Christine Baranski. I'm not overly familiar with all the work she's done, but apparently in The Good Wife, right?
Well, Good Fight now, but
The Good Fight, The Good Wife and The Good Fight. And in some of her other roles, people have said, I've said how gracious and nice she was. And I've had people say, wow, on TV she always seems to play a very mean or very direct person. And I said, oh my God, she was lovely and couldn't have been nicer. But the gala was, we do it right on the town green, and it's a really special night in Old Saybrook. And Senator Blumenthal stopped by and gave some very nice remarks also.
Yeah.
Wow.
Indeed. One good thing that also happened, Christine did an interview before the gala with Ann Nyberg, who's one of our trustees, and we've been doing that with each of our gala recipients each year as we think about a reincarnated museum, a new space, and there's been some really great things that have come from those recipients about Katherine Hepburn that may live on in a future version of the museum, which is great. So she had some wonderful things to say.
So Pete, I don't know if you know other recipients of the Spirit of Katherine Hepburn Award.
I don't.
Dick Cavett was the first.
Oh, sure, right.
Glenn Close was the second. I mean, some big hitters here, right?
Yeah, big names.
Ann Nyberg was number 3, one of our trustees.
Absolutely.
And obviously certainly a Connecticut Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
And then this year, of course, Christine Baranski, who, I think when you see her name, not everybody knows her name.
It's true.
But then I did this. I must have done this 10 or 15 times to people. I showed them on my phone, and they're like, oh, her, I know her.
Oh, I know who
She's
that
a
is.
wonderful, wonderful actress, and like I said, her remarks were terrific.
And was once upon a time on Broadway with Glenn Close as well, so they've done a show together, which was sort of a neat tie. But I mean, she did The Grinch and Chicago and Cruel Intentions and so many movies that you've seen her in over the years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, indeed.
Now tell us a little bit about the theater.
Sure. So the Kate, of course, celebrating its 10th year. Last year we did about 280 events, primarily music, some theater, some dance, some opera, simulcast. We have our Movie Monday series. We have surround sound now, so we do classic blockbusters. The Godfather played this year. We also had Mrs. Doubtfire and some of the Harry Potter films, but primarily a music venue. So we do about 150 to 160 live bands a year. And the Saybrook Stage Company comes in twice for more theater pieces as well. A lot of great stuff. We stay really, really busy. Last year, we had about 43,000 people come through into the 250-seat theater. So it was a lot of shows. And we're excited because at 10 years, we've had 300,000 people come to the Cate, which is really exciting.
Yeah. We have to put that into context.
Yes.
The theater holds 250 people.
Right.
To have 43,000 people come in the door in 1 year is pretty remarkable. Obviously, sometimes there are multiple shows a day. There might be an afternoon show and an evening show. But Brett recently shared some statistics with me over the 10 years. And I believe the first year there were about 13 or 14,000 people who came in the door. And then over the next 3 years, it was about 26,000, but it has exploded every year since. I mean, it's a straight up trajectory. I don't know how many more people you can actually get in the theater in 1 year.
Yeah, we're close to
that. Growth is going to be tough to top. And Brett can talk about this in terms of, it's 10 years old. The theater also needed some work.
Oh, yeah, so we're renovating right now. We just, with the town's help, the columns out front were restored. Some exterior projects. We're also repainting the entire interior, new carpeting, some new chairs, a lot of things like that going on over the next week and a half while we're technically closed, but lots of renovations happening inside.
So you're close to the public now for
Indeed, yeah.
about a week and a half.
And going back to the 300,000 people that have come through, or the 43,000 last year, I think we're particularly proud of how many of those, how many folks come to Old Saybrook to enjoy shows at the Cate. So, there's a decent percentage, but not a huge percentage of Old Saybrook residents, and so many people are coming into town and eating in restaurants and enjoying the town, staying in our hotels, and it's really great. There's always people coming in for shows.
And supporting the town and supporting the local businesses.
Indeed.
Economic development there, Carl.
Yeah.
There is, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the statistic that you showed me was about 25% are from Old Saybrook?
Yeah, 25% or less at this point, only because the number of folks from outside of town have grown.
Yeah,
Right.
So 75% of the 40,000 are coming from other towns in the state of Connecticut, and that's good. It showcases Old Saybrook, and these are people who might be coming for the first time, and they love our Main Street. They might, go to a restaurant, and they might decide they want to live there, and or come there more, and come to another show at the Cate.
There you go.
The shows at the Cate are fantastic.
They are.
They really are. Have you been?
I have not. I was, as I said to you guys before we started taping tonight, the last time I was at the Cate was for a Chamber of Commerce event a couple years ago, where actually I was getting an award.
That's right.
And I haven't had a chance to step in, but it sounds to me like I might
Come over and see us.
I might have to come over and hang out.
Yeah, we've had a show
Hang out for a
from
show.
the 4th of July to our gala this past Saturday. Every day there was a show.
Okay.
Some two show days. So it's been very busy.
And I'm sure once the summer dies down, the kids go back to school, you guys still continuously keep busy?
Oh, for sure.
I'm sure it doesn't quiet down.
We maybe go back to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, kind of as opposed to 7 days a week. But yeah, it keeps right on a rolling, which is, there's probably 25 shows just in September, even with the week we're closed. So yeah.
Oh my God.
For sure. Yeah,
Holy
it's good.
Cow.
Also, 10th anniversary. So
yeah, let's talk.
We'll celebrate our official 10th anniversary on September 11th, 2019.
Okay.
September 11th, 2009 was the first show we had, and what we quantify as our date that we opened. And Pure Prairie League was the very first band, and they will be back with us 10 years to the date after it all began. So that's very exciting. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a ticketed show. And
it is, yeah. There's still some tickets available for that, but it's going to be a great celebration, and we're looking forward to sharing with everyone.
What is the date on that?
September 11th.
September 11th.
Yeah.
September 11th.
It's sort of a unique date, but it is
Right.
Right around the corner.
It is, a couple weeks.
Indeed, yeah.
Couple of weeks.
And there are other 10-year anniversary events?
Festivities?
There are a few more coming up yet. We've run through a lot of them this summer with open houses and things. There's going to be a bit of a rededication of the building coming up and a few other things. And I think Saybrook Stage is going to do a Katherine Hepburn related show in January to sort of round out the year. But more to come on that because they haven't officially announced.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And obviously, you guys have a board of directors that runs everything.
Indeed.
Pretty
yeah.
good size?
So yeah, we have a board of directors right now that are 22 members from local and a little bit from around the region. And yeah, we are a nonprofit, so we are governed by that board of directors, and then a full-time staff of 4 and a part-time staff of another 6 or 8 people that keep the place moving.
Wow.
And yeah, it's good. It's grown. When I started, we had 2 full-time staff members. Not that doubling to 4 is huge, but it's a, you know, an accomplishment.
It is. It definitely is.
So, yeah.
And what else would you like to tell everybody?
Oh gosh, what am I missing? I mean, I think one of the things I would like to share is if you haven't been, you should come, because there are so many people who tell us all the time that they've never been there, and I always say to them, well, where have you been? Because
Right.
there's so many shows and so many opportunities to come out and see things at the Cape, and the variety is really great. Bands of all genres, theater. So if you don't find something that you like, I'm not exactly sure what you like, but I'd sure like to know,
Right.
because
Right.
we mix it up pretty well.
You know what's interesting?
What's that?
Is I'll talk to people who are going to the Cape, and they'll talk about an Irish band they're going to see.
Okay.
And I've never heard of this Irish band, and I'll talk to Brett, and I'll be like, how did that show sell? And he'll be like, 240 tickets. And there's a lot of these niche bands that fall into that sweet spot of 250, I guess, that the Cape can afford to pay, that you get crowds from all over the state who say, wow, that band is going to be in Connecticut at that theater. They do comedy, they do Boston comedy, what is that?
Best of the Boston Comedy
Best
Festival.
of the Boston Comedy.
Really?
And I talked to Brett, I'm like, how does comedy sell?
Really well. Really well. Boston Comedy Festival doesn't send us huge names typically. They send us really funny people, and they have developed a really good following down here. But we've also had Paula Poundstone and Colin Quinn and some other bigger name comedians that have come through that have been great as well.
Would you guys mind sticking around for another segment?
Sure.
All right, excellent.
We'd love to.
We'll be right back.
Community TV, your neighborhood TV.
Publicly funded and a reliable partner for cable companies nationwide. It provides transparent coverage of local and state government, education, and public programming.
A digital town green that can be watched anywhere, anytime, and on any device.
Watch us on today's high-tech distribution methods.
Community TV in Connecticut.
Local,
Unfiltered.
reliable, and
And yours.
And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. Sitting here with Brett Elliott from the Katherine, Hepburn, and Carl Fortuna from First Selectman of the town of Old Saybrook. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you, Pete. and Thank you for having us.
No problem. So, Carl, we're going to open. You and I are going to open up this segment. Let's talk about what's going on in the town of Saybrook.
Well, we're working on some capital projects right now. One of them actually was the pillars at the Cape.
Okay.
So there are 6 pillars as you look at the Katherine Hepburn Cultural Arts Center.
Right.
And a lot of them had rot at the bottom of them, and that was about a $120,000 project. But those are load-bearing pillars, and they had to be fixed, and we are fixing them, and they're mostly fixed. We had a little bit of a bigger problem with one of them, so one of them remains to be fixed, but the other 5 look good. And in conjunction with that, and Brett can speak to this better than I can, but I know that when people drive down Main Street looking for the Cape sometimes, they don't know what to look for, because the Katherine Hepburn Cultural Arts Center can look like a town hall, and in fact it was town hall.
Yes, it was.
After it was a theater. So in conjunction with the Pillar Project, the Katherine Hepburn Cultural Arts Center did new lighting, which will unmistakably tell the visitor that they are arriving at a theater?
Indeed. So we put 20 color mixing LEDs at the base of those columns, and we can light those up quite bright with any color we choose based on season or holiday or the show or our signature red on any given night, and have better lighting on our sign up at the top of the peak as well.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. You know, sometime this winter, or you know, when it gets dark and you're in a car driving by, the lights on the pillars and on the name of the theater are really spectacular. And you know what we can do? We can, you know, we've talked about this, how we have lights at the dome on the chamber building.
Yes.
We can sync the lights. So for Christmas, we can have red, and for St. Patrick's Day, green. So
Cool.
Can you do that? Is that the intent, maybe, to
Judy and I
play with it a little bit? Good.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Excellent.
And then, you know, Pete, we talked about it last year when I was on your show. We're continuing our sidewalk project.
Okay.
Between the 18-19 fiscal year and this fiscal year, 19-20, we're probably going to put about $500,000 into new sidewalks. Those sidewalks go all the way to Saybrook Point, and in fact, today they have finished the sidewalks all the way down to Saybrook Point. Wow. So when you walk from basically the Henny Penny in Old Saybrook, you can walk there all the way to Saybrook Point, and you will not find one tripper. You will not find any sidewalks that are unreasonably damaged. We didn't change out all the sidewalks. That would be too expensive. And then the tail end of that project, and it's hardly a tail end, is to repair all the sidewalks from the Dairy Queen on Route 1 all the way to the Henny Penny, which is Old Boston Post Road. So those sidewalks right now are all asphalt, and they're all bumpy and wavy. That's what happens to asphalt sidewalks. They should not be, sidewalks should not be asphalt.
No.
They should be concrete. So we are replacing all those asphalt sidewalks with, look, you know, it's near and dear to my heart, I can tell you that.
Absolutely.
It's probably the one thing I can do in town that gains unanimity with the citizenry and visitors from out of town. There is nothing like, you know, children going to school, bike riding on the sidewalks.
Yeah.
And then people in the summer and winter, it's a safe way for them to get out and exercise. So really important. And we have tennis courts over on Kavanaugh Park. We have, I think, 4 courts over there that are in desperate need of repair. The Board of Finance, I'm going to ask our Board of Finance, and that is a $110,000 project. I mean, these are expensive projects, but just like the pickleball courts, which I'll come back to, the tennis courts are heavily used. And Park and Rec sees a need for those courts to be fixed so that people can play tennis safely. The pickleball courts, and I'm sure Brett can attest to this, are busy.
No,
you know, so it was very interesting because I didn't know what pickleball was 2 years ago, and it came on my radar. We built these courts, and there are days, I mean, frequently there's people in there, just frequently, but there are mornings where there is a swarm of people in there, and it's an awesome thing. I mean, and a friend of mine said there's apparently a website you can go to for pickleball, and there's a group of people who move around towns to find the pickleball games, and they'll go to Westbrook, which just put some courts in, and then they'll go to Saybrook one day, and they try to avoid the other crowds because we have a league that plays at our pickleball courts. And then, so those are the capital projects we have going on right now.
Okay.
And, you know, good stuff for the town. You got to keep improving your infrastructure.
Definitely.
And of course, we're doing all the road work right now, so the DPW crew is busy. One of the things I wanted to bring up, Pete, is the census. So the 2020 census is coming. Okay. Again, this is a very government type of issue, but very important to bring up. Connecticut, 20 years ago, had 6 congresspersons. We have 5 now.
Yes.
As a result of a census, I think 10 years ago. Okay. We are in danger of having 4 in the state of Connecticut.
Really?
So we need to make sure, and we had the U.S. Census come to a Board of Selectmen meeting. we have to make sure that every citizen is counted, and they came to us and they said, how can we get the word out in Old Saybrook, Connecticut? So what you do is we have formed a complete count committee, okay? Complete count committee consists of community leaders. So I've reached out to the pastors and the priests and the other religious leaders. I've reached out to the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary, the schools, the chief of police, and every community leader I could think of. And we are going to have a meeting, and the U.S. Census will come to that meeting, and we will talk about how when you, Pete Mezzetti, in where you live, in Clinton, I believe, right?
Yes.
And where I live and where Brett lives, when you receive an email or a phone call, it's safe. Because in the country right now, people are a little scared of the word census, I think. So we don't want people to think it's a scam. Obviously, there may be some scams out there, but the whole point of this is to make sure that people understand that the census is coming and it is safe, and there is a safe, effective way to respond to that. So we, in Old Saybrook, are trying to do our part to make sure that every person is counted in the town of Old Saybrook.
Right.
That's all we can do, but that's what we want to do. So
How many people are in the town of Old Saybrook?
10,200.
Right.
But we have a Tibetan population in town.
Okay.
And we want to reach out to them and make sure they are counted. We do not have a big minority population, but wherever that population is, we want to make sure they're counted. This is not a partisan issue. We've engaged the Republican Town Committee and the Democratic Town Committee on this issue because it's important. It's important to Connecticut.
Yeah.
Because if you have less people and you have less congresspersons, you're going to get less money for your roads and bridges.
Absolutely.
And so I thought that was very important.
Okay.
To get the word out.
All right.
And I don't know, where are we? I mean, I have a little, I can talk about.
Keep going.
Okay. So last year we finished our fiscal year, the 18-19 fiscal year, and the town had a very strong fiscal year.
Excellent.
We had about a $500,000, well actually we had about $1 million surplus. We had about $500,000 on the revenue side and about $500,000 on the expenditure side. So we underexpended our budget. And revenues, the town of Old Saybrook budget, well, we estimate that 99% of the people in town will pay their taxes. Well, when you get 99.2 that pay your taxes, it gives you a very nice bump.
Right.
So town of Old Saybrook had a very healthy fiscal year, and we're putting some of that money to work in sidewalks and capital projects.
Brett, how are I know we talked about the pillar project before, so things are moving along and should be completed sometime soon?
Pillars are, with the exception of the one pillar that is left, those are actually complete. And
Really?
Fitzgerald Painting has also painted them and completed them. So
Absolutely.
when they light up right now, they are a very clean white base to start with. So they're
Okay.
extra bright. It's a good project. I think it gives the theater a little bit of pizzazz that it might have needed to be a theater.
And obviously, like we were talking about in the first segment, the amount of shows that you guys do, obviously there's no bad seat in the house.
No bad seat in the house, not at all. 250, it's a narrow theater. It's, it's unique. We had Graham Nash a few years ago with his an intimate evening of songs and stories, and we had a patron who called us a few weeks ago and said, I just went and saw that same show in a theater with 1,400 seats. It's not intimate when it's 1,400 seats, but it is when it's 250. So
right.
It's one of the greatest things about the Cade, and sometimes we have to stretch to get, acts of that caliber and make it work, and ticket prices, sometimes can be just a little bit more, but then you get to that experience and it's like nothing you've ever, been able to enjoy elsewhere. So it's really unique.
And I'm sure for most of your shows or all of your shows, you've had a sellout crowd of.
Well, yeah, a lot of them sell out. Certainly not all of them do, but we don't. We bring in a variety intentionally. We're a cultural nonprofit. We don't only book something because it has to sell out. We'll bring in things that we know there's a niche and 120 people that want to see, and that's okay. That's really great.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. You know what's neat though? You can go see the Met in HD on a Sunday afternoon.
Saturday.
Or Saturday afternoon. You can watch the Met in HD in there. And what do you charge for a ticket?
They're $28 on Saturday afternoons.
$28.
And,
Oh my God.
And you almost get more because you get to see all of the backstage interviews during intermissions and before, and the set changing, which none of the audience at the Met is seeing. They're pretty unique to watch.
Cool.
The Bolshoi Ballet.
Yep. Bolshoi Ballet, National Theatre Live, which comes out of theaters in London. So we've got some of those coming up. Yeah, indeed.
Cool.
Just neat. There's so much to offer there. I was at that Graham Nash show.
Yeah.
Were you? How was it?
And I can only tell you, it was one of the best. I've seen a lot of shows in my life.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of shows when I lived in New York, but the Graham Nash show was simply spectacular, and the intimacy, as you say, was something. I saw an act there recently, Robin Hitchcock and Al Stewart last year, and I think the performers feel that intimacy, and when there's people in there, and then you have your public television series. I don't know how much time we have to talk about.
Keep going. Keep going.
So
Talk about the public television.
we have a series on PBS. Connecticut Public Television produces it. It's just filmed Delbert McClinton, which is the first episode of the 5th season. So that was episode 25. So there are 25 episodes. That is correct. And we get emails all the time. You know, somebody sitting in their living room in Salt Lake City, Utah, that saw a show live from the Kate. In their living room, which is really great. I mean, it's been a wonderful series to be able to bring in the acts that they do and then send them all over the country.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff. It's an amazing economic driver, as you pointed out.
It is.
When you talk about that many people coming into town and they're going to the Red Hen, they're going to Libs, they're going to Jackrabbits, or and during the day they're going to some of the stores on our main street and buying running shoes maybe right down the street.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, indeed. But even for us, we booked almost 500 rooms for artists last year to stay in town.
Oh my
as they're
God.
coming through. So there's a lot that happens.
Absolutely. And if people want more information on the Kate, where should they go?
They should go to thekate.org. That is the place where it all lives.
And it all lives there, and it all can be found there as well.
Indeed.
Can they view some of the old shows there on that?
For the television series?
Yeah.
You can find a link on our website to the website for the television series. That is thekate.tv, and all of the previous episodes stream on the website.
And they're spectacular. It's worth going to.
Okay.
Really worth going to.
Okay. And if people want more information on the town of Old Saybrook, where are they going?
Come to my office. I'll talk to them personally.
Fine. All right.
It's usually a line.
There's always someone in there. You know that.
What? Come to your office? All
No,
right.
I mean, obviously the town website. I try to put out press releases.
That's fine.
and- yeah.
All right. Brett Elliott from the K, thanks for coming down. We'll
thanks
see
for
you
having
soon.
me.
Carl Fortuna, thanks for coming down. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for having us.
You got it.
Okay.
On behalf of Carl Fortuna, Brett Elliott, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next time.